r/paranormal. I work at a general hospital and mental hospital. About 2 years ago I took a new job working as an operator of the steam plant at a large campus that has both a general hospital and mental hospital on the land. The campus has a rich history of being one of the first mental institutions in Canada, and also was co-founded by Dorothea Dix herself. In 1974 a general hospital was built and became a part of the care system. There is one central tunnel connecting most buildings, with building construction dates ranging from 1951 to 2005. I'm not anti-paranormal, but I'm not one that seethes for it either. I'm in the middle, open to all possibilities. Our job in the plant is a two-person show, with one to stay inside and run the boilers, and the other to be the outside operator doing rounds on the buildings and systems, running their equipment etc. In the last 2 years these are the experiences I've had while being the outside operator. At the general hospital, I've had multiple instances at night where I've been within 15 feet of the service elevators only to have the doors open up for me, and the floor I want already selected. About a month ago I asked a few of the guys who've been here for decades if they've ever had any freaky experiences. I didn't want to coach them into any stories, or tell my own. I wanted to hear theirs without any influence or bias, and most of them had the same elevator experience. One employee has always said thank you when he gets on an elevator that has done this for him. There have also been moments of negative feelings in certain areas. These feelings are either the don't go here type, or a sad, hopeless feeling. There was one room last summer I wouldn't go in at all at 1 a.m. to do rounds on since it had a strong stay away, don't go here vibe to it, but at 7 p.m. or 5 a.m., the room was fine. There is another area that for a few months I walked through it and it just felt sad to be there, but now it's fine. Sometimes it feels like you're not alone, and sometimes it feels like you see people out the corner of your eyes. Multiple employees have also said they see people out the corner of their eyes a lot. The two scariest experiences I had were both at the mental hospital side, in the old South Unit. The South Unit was built in 1951, held lots of patients, had an operating room at one point where lobotomies were done in the early 50s. Today, half of the floors are abandoned and empty with the rest being day clinics and offices. One floor used to be a secure, forensic unit which is now abandoned. It is one of the last institutions to have a Kirkbride layout. Without a doubt, the South Unit has a feel to it. Some days I walk in there and it feels good, safe to do rounds but nothing more. Other days it's welcoming and wants you to explore and look around. And other days, you can feel it doesn't want you there at all as you're walking up to it. In my experience, if you ignore these feelings, you get punished. The basement south end has been an off-limits zone for me for almost a whole year. I absolutely refuse to go down that far as it just reeks of don't go here, don't even try. Last year, I got cocky around 11 p.m. and decided to go over and seek out a paranormal event. I ignored the building telling me to stay away. My motives were disrespectful. When I got to the forensic floor I started deep snooping, opening drawers, cabinets, etc. I opened one former patient room only to have the door slowly close on me, and then open back up a foot. Keep in mind these doors have anti-close rods on them to make sure the door stays in position no matter where you leave it. I took that as a sign, and decided to leave that floor and go to the basement even though I knew I should just leave the building. Once in the basement, I could hear an odd humming noise which would come in and out. I never heard it before, and haven't heard it since. It makes no sense mechanically nor could it be from the building's structure either. I took that as a sign to leave, and I went up one floor and started to speed walk to the tunnel. As I walked by a closet that was only 6 inches deep since it only held an electrical panel, I heard one loud knock on the door from behind, and a subsequent knock on the door to the office next to the closet. I learned my lesson. The most recent experience was about a month ago. I walked close to the building. I felt the don't even think about coming inside vibe. I ignored it. I didn't want to push my luck, so I thought I would just do a quick set of rounds and get out. While in the basement taking readings, I heard the door at the top of the stairs to the basement open and close, footsteps on the stairs, and the bottom basement door open. I immediately began a line to the exit so I could leave through the tunnel, and about halfway there it felt like someone was behind me, pushing me out. Even when I went to check on the other buildings on that side of the campus, it felt like whatever it was didn't want me there, and continued to push me away towards the plant. Suddenly, once I got close to the heating plant, it backed off and I felt fine. Other employees have stories of their own too, which I can share if wanted, but this is what I've experienced so far. I also have more involving elevators and noises. I've learned that a gut feeling and being respectful while exploring or doing rounds is a major step towards peace at these places. If you think you know best and press on even though you're warned not to, it's your own fault. Edit: here are some of the co-workers' stories. The painter one time was in the south unit painting in the early evening. He said the north elevator came up to the second floor, opened, closed, went somewhere, and came back 8 times. Another operator did rounds on the old nurse's residence's top floor. As he walked down the stairs and checked every floor, the elevator followed him and stopped on every floor until he reached the basement. We've had numerous issues with the fire alarm panel in the spring in the south unit, then the issues just went away. Security has footage from various floors/units in the south unit where doors open and close by themselves. Most of the maintenance staff have said they don't feel alone in the south unit. We have a service call into the elevator contractor as we don't know where the south unit's south elevator car is. It shows on 4, but it's not there and won't answer any calls to floors. In the general hospital, security has footage on the basement cameras showing doors opening and closing, lights turning on and off by themselves. Other times in the general hospital, some of the daytime clinics have had their nurse call stations ring in emergency mode when no one has been in for hours at night. Operators have recalled super cold areas for no reason in the general hospital. Not many people like to go up to the unused floor as they never felt alone. Rumors flew around there was a nun up there, but I've never seen her. Almost every kid in my hometown is haunted by the same 2 spirits. For reference, I am now 20 years old and my younger sister is 16. We grew up in a small town in the western part of Maryland. I know now that the entire town is most likely on a ley line, but I don't count that to be 100% true. What I do know for sure that the town we grew up in was very weird, to say the least. Up until the age of 8 we lived in one house a few streets over from where my parents live now. I don't remember much from this house, other than sometimes seeing a large shadow cross doorways. As a kid I also had an imaginary friend, Sarah. Sarah was blonde, with green eyes and a white and blue Victorian dress, and couldn't have been older than 11. When we moved into the new house things started getting progressively worse. Other than the fact that our new house was haunted by several spirits and had a demon in the basement, more on that in another post. I started seeing a shadowy figure following me more and more, and I dubbed him Top Hat Man. He never did anything other than followed and watched, yet he terrified me. I can still picture him in my head to this day in the corner of my bedroom. But, whenever I saw this spirit, Sarah was sure to follow, and he would leave as soon as she appeared. It got to its worst around 6th grade. And the last time I remember seeing both apparitions, I was doing homework in the dining room, and the Top Hat Man was watching me from across the living room. Sarah, acting almost as a guard dog, was sitting at the end of the couch, a barrier between me and the evil spirit. But this time, he did do something. He opened his eyes. Dark red eyes stared at me as he started to silently jolt to where I was, but Sarah stood up, put her hand up, and when they touched, puff, they both were gone. That was the end of it for me. But a few years later I walked into my sister's room and she looked terrified. At the time I was 15, and she was 11. I eventually got the truth out of her and she explained how she kept seeing a shadowy man in a top hat, and a little girl she called Sarah. For months she would come up to me in my room, the kitchen, even at my grandmother's once, crying saying he was watching her. Around that time we also got our house blessed due to demonic activity in the house and she never brought it up again after that. I don't know if it happened to help or not, but I think we're both too scared to bring it up. I really wish that was the end, but among many friend groups in high school and middle school, at sleepovers, hangouts, and lunches, I've had opportunities to share ghost stories as moody teens do. And my sister and I aren't the only ones with the same experience. A total of 10 other kids my age had the same exact thing happen to them. A tall shadow figure in a top hat and a blonde little girl named Sarah. Everyone saying the same thing. They stopped seeing them around 11 or 12 years old. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why. It's truly unexplainable. How are all these kids seeing the exact same thing? Why is it happening in my town? Does it happen elsewhere too? If someone, anyone, has answers, please help. A man made my dog afraid of walking. I've never shared this thread online, just a couple of friends and family. I remember this situation as it happened yesterday and it seems I will never forget it. I was staring through the window outside my block. It were evening hours. There was a man riding a bike and he suddenly dismounted from it and began just to stay still with his bike next to a lantern. Because of that lantern's light I could see that man was staring towards my side, or at least the side of my block. I found that awkward so I went away and came back after a couple of minutes and the guy was gone. But what was even stranger, the next day, as I had my everyday walk with my dog through the usual route, When we tried to walk past the point where the man was staring, my dog refused to walk and was acting as if there's lava poured next step. I tried to walk through that point from the opposite, but result was the same. Since then I had to use completely different route for about a year until the dog was given away to friends of my parents, so I don't know if he would walk there today. My brother had the same experience and I told him about it earlier. He looked at me like I'm dumb, but then he realized what I was talking about. Nothing was poured on the floor, there was no weird smell in that area. I'm here to ask about weird animals' behavior and if you had similar experience and what could cause such a shock. I can't find any logical explanation. Perhaps animals truly can sense other things on daily basis that we can't. If that's the case, that would explain my cat's behavior as well. Did you make it through the whole video? If so, thank you for your time. If you enjoyed, feel free to like, comment and subscribe. Have a good day, or night, or evening, or morning, or whatever.